Writing, or we have nothing to stand on. The incident that happened to us 2 weeks ago was significant enough that I wish we had had an ordinance.
But Leslie, if I can, the verbiage you're talking about, that is the state statute that they are allowed to go on. It says, it does address that. That's why the police are, when you were talking about the verbiage about going on public or on highways and things of that nature, that actually it is allowed for the state statute. I think.
Yep. Private too.
Yeah, and private. So it's private, in state waters, on state public land, on state public property. So it's all, in a nutshell, those four areas, which covers all potential areas. And it goes on to talk about public highways and parks, beaches, campgrounds, parks, and it goes on to talk about private land as well. I guess the issue would become, and again, that would be the police department in conjunction with DEP that does have the authority to cite individuals who violate that statute. The issue that we have to overcome is showing the Board of Selectmen and, in essence, the Ordinance Committee, why it is that we believe that that's not enough, that we need to have an ordinance. And I would say, and I would present and offer to everyone here, that the stronger argument would be that it is not specific enough, that we should compile the littering with the blight and any other ordinances that perhaps fall under, and again, I'm using this town because it was laid out in such a way that they're pretty much compiling a couple different ordinances that we already have in existence and adding in litter to that. I think, they're even talking about poisonous vegetation in here, things that we've talked about with, with all of the vegetation issues that we have in town as well. I think that is the argument, is that the state statute gives you a general idea of, and it gives the authority to our police department in conjunction with DEP and other state agencies to cite these issues, to cite these individuals who are violating this. What will the what would an ordinance give us? That would also give us the ability to be more specific as to what it is that we would like cited in the town of Woodbridge. If that makes sense.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but might we also be able to levy more heftier fines as well as the states? The states, I forgot what it is. It's like 210 to something.
Well, that gets into Sheila's purview, which is the state statute that gives the municipalities authority to pass certain ordinances. And that would be, I think, Sheila's expertise on being on the ordinance committee. I think we're limited to what we can and cannot do in creating ordinances, from what I understand. The very lengthy statute, which I think it's section 7-148, the scope of municipal powers. So that would be something that the ordinance committee would have to review to decide what type of powers they have in creating this ordinance. So I don't know the answer to that question. I'm sure that Sheila and the ordinance committee have reviewed, for example, for the blight, the blight ordinance that we have, on what they can and cannot do based on 7-148. I don't know, Sheila, if you want to hop in.
Yeah, I would just say, first, the ordinance committee of this Board of Selectmen hasn't met yet. So right. We haven't done anything. That was the previous ordinance committee that had done it. But very generally, we're going to be relying on the legal advice from the town attorney. So we don't typically look at the statute and try to interpret, because we're not meant to be attorneys in that regard. But the other thing I will say that we're going to have to balance is, it's not just a matter of, are we allowed to do these things, but do we want to expend taxpayer resources to do these things? And in the case of littering, that might be somebody who doesn't live in town and is littering in town. I'm not sure that if we change ordinance, or we create new ordinance that allows police to come onto property in Woodbridge, that's not going to do us good if the person doesn't live in Woodbridge. So I think that we should all keep in mind, especially since the Board of Selectmen, Board of Finance are doing this budget process right now, we're not looking to expand and hire more people to do more work unless we have very specific goals in mind for that. And I know we talked about it before, that a public information campaign asking people to please not litter is likely to get you as far, if not further, than putting up signs and trying to chase down people to hand out tickets and things like that. I think that sort of that educational piece, I always like to think that educating people is a better way to get the goal that you're after, which is cleaner communities, right? So if people were to adopt a highway around their neighborhood, or, you know, not even just a highway, but roads, and go out and pick up, if you don't see litter on the road, you're less likely to throw your litter out. So it's a matter of kind of getting community volunteers together and modeling the behavior. It's just a balancing.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree with you. I agree with you in that sense. But at the same time, you have people, for example, I try to do that up and down my street. But last summer, somebody threw a diaper out there, a diaper, you know, and they get, you know, maybe they were changing the child and, you know, they didn't want to keep it in the car because it smelled. But still, you know, you can't expect people to go out and pick up, you know, especially during COVID, a diaper, you know, so a soiled diaper at that. So, so I think we need to do something for these people that, you know, really don't care and just, you know, litter our town, and it doesn't look good.
I don't think it's exclusive to Woodbridge litterers too, Laura. I agree with
Yeah,
you.
I agree.
You know, the people that have been found in the past, and I'm speaking as the garbage girl of Greenway Road, who's been doing this for over 30 years, picking up litter. But it just isn't, it seems that it's people that are not Woodbridge residents. So I don't know, forming like local committees or whatever. That's something, you know, when we did our environmental programs, we emphasized, and I agree, absolutely agree with you, Sheila, we should do that. The problem is, and I've even sent people, you know, I've given out literature asking for help on our area. It's not just my street and my property, our whole area, and gotten minimal response, very minimal. You know, someone might pick up a can occasionally, but the point is, I absolutely agree, once there's something there, you're going to find 500 more things. I think a sign, I know you're not big on signage, and it doesn't always work, but we have nothing. And even if it were posted in, you know, our public places, you know, the Fitzgerald track, places, you know, the playgrounds where people might meet, the athletic fields, on the roads, the main roads, it might at least say to people who travel them and who misuse, you know, the opportunities, or use the opportunity to throw things out. At least, you know, oh, maybe somebody's actually watching, or maybe it matters. I just think we owe it to the citizens of Woodbridge to have something in place to show that we are concerned about it. It's unusual. It seems to me, in the research I did of the towns that neighbor us, it's unusual not to have one. And I feel that, you know, that we deserve one, and also it might actually serve as some deterrent. In terms of cost, I'm not sure where the cost would amount to a point where it's inordinate. You know, if a police person were to ticket someone or cite someone or visit someone like this guy did, that's some time from their, you know, from their official duties, but that's how it's handled in other towns. You know, I agree that it's unique to us, but it should be. It should be. So,
Leslie, did they catch someone? Your example, isn't that when they're actually catching someone? It's so that's the challenge. Like, you rarely ever see the person doing the littering, and that's where the ticket would come from, right?
Right. Well, the one time the policeman that had mentioned that he one time saw someone doing it and went after them. that's when he realized also he was aware of the fact that he could do that. That was once. No, the other example I gave that was more recent in our area, and again, please don't think it's exclusive to just my property, because it's certainly not. In fact, we're a historic road, so it looks great to have garbage on it. But anyway, this past one, 2 weeks ago, they did catch the person because his name was on the literature that he tore up, and it wasn't just literature, it was the whole thing garbage. But and that person was cited, and guess what, they didn't live in Woodbridge, so I think that people do travel our roads and take advantage of the fact that they can do that. And yes, in the eyes of our current situation with COVID, I agree with Laura 100%. It sounds like nothing, a diaper, but that's serious. We're still in a pandemic.
I think in the interest of time, because I know we have to get to Jeanette, who's here to speak as well. I have to, if this is something that we vote on tonight, which if someone wants to make a motion, I have to give notice on Wednesday and notify. I have to send something to Jerry Shaw about it. So I guess the issue that it keeps coming back to, the issue and the hurdle that we have to get over is that what will an ordinance do for us that the state statute cannot? And I think that's, the answer to that is, yes, we have littering in town, but Sheila's presenting some arguments that may be faced regarding this potential ordinance. So what can an ordinance do for us that the state statute cannot? And other than the fact that it can be more specific, is there anything else that we are missing? Because the statute gives the police department the authority to cite.
Our police department, not the state.
It does give our police department authority. Yeah,
right.
And both, right. everybody, state, our police department. So other than
how about if we put up with one sign somewhere, entering Woodbridge, no littering, or something to that effect. Litter, is that something that's doable?
Well, I guess the issue would become, who is the town paying for this? And in light of the budget hearings going on, I don't know if that's going to be successful at this time. I'm sure there's grants for that, and that could be something that we could look into.
I would say on top of the cost of signs, I think that I've heard from people who say we have altogether too many signs on the sides of our roads.
No, I agree.
If the sign's right on your property, you don't particularly want a big orange or yellow sign or whatever on your property. So the question of whether we're going to have kind of an unlimited number of signs or whether we want to take it easy on signs, that's another question, and perhaps that also goes to ordinance, because I know there are some places that have very stringent requirements. You can't put up signs.
Right.
I know we have a lot of signs, the things at the Fitzgerald, we have little laminated signs that are all over the place, and then they fall off and they blow around and they create litter. So I think we want to be careful both with the signage, but I do think if you bring it to Board of Selectmen, there'll be a decision whether it goes to ordinance, and then from there we can take a look at what specifics might be.
Okay. So if that's something that this committee would like to do, then if someone, that's the procedure. So we would vote on that tonight. And if it does pass, then just as Sheila indicated, I would then present that information to the Board of Selectmen, who would then decide whether they're going to seat the ordinance committee. I can't speak. Sorry, the committee.
Okay, I move that we explore this option more so that we can move it to the ordinance committee.
So are you moving for me to give notice to the Board of Selectmen our want and need for a littering ordinance in the town of Woodbridge?
Yes.
Okay.
Great.
Does anyone want a second?
So
Yes.
what is the exact motion? I'm sorry. So the motion is to, because you started, it was two people saying the same motion. So
You want to repeat what you said, Nicole?
So
Sure.
who's
let me-
motioning though? Are you
Mm.
motioning, Laura, or is Nicole?
Yes, I am. I'm motioning.
Give me 1 second. I'm gonna. We are motioning for CUPOP to request that the Board of Selectmen seat the ordinance committee to investigate adopting a littering ordinance.
Fine.
Is that good?
Yep.
Okay. And is there any second? Is that good, Tony?
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Second,
And who's seconding? Leslie, are you seconding?
absolutely.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, so Patty, did you vote?
Yeah, that's
I'm sorry.
Yes. Is it yes across the board? I'm sorry.
Yes, yep.
Yes.
Okay, so I will send that written request in and I'll keep you posted, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
All right, so Leslie, we have Jeanette here from the dog park.
Hey.
Hi, Jeanette. Oh, one more thing. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I forgot to mention this because Jeanette's here. I forgot during my report. I'm sorry, Tony. I forgot to mention this. There is a blood drive on March 6th that is being co-hosted by Woodbridge Human Services with Jeanette and my
Wonderful.
foundation. And I'm happy to report that it takes place at Center School and all 52 spots have been filled.
Wonderful.
So there's a huge
Congratulations.
shortage.
Yeah,
But
there
I'm
is.
especially grateful to everyone that has come forward as being a history of being a leukemia patient. And so between my foundation and Jeanette, we got it done. So it'll be very successful on Sunday and it will be at the Center School Gymnasium. So sorry, Jeanette. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I forgot to mention that.
No, that's great. I'm
Mhm.
so thrilled. Thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
So I prepared a little report, so I'm going to read the report so I don't forget any of the names or activities. So good evening, and thank you for including this item on your agenda tonight and making time for us. I'm Jeanette Glicksman for Todd, who I haven't met but might not be here. And I am representing the Woodbridge Dog Park Cooperative. I'm one of the new board members elected in December. I'm the liaison between our board, dog park members, and the town. Thank you for this opportunity to update you on the status of the dog park. First, on behalf of the board of directors, I would like to express continuing appreciation for use of that portion of the Fitzgerald property. Dog park membership and use remains strong and the facility runs smoothly day after day. Volunteers keep the trash bins empty and the humans who accompany their dogs provide a steady supply of ideas and suggestions as we move forward. We remain mindful of who our landlord is, and we remain pleased to have this ongoing use of publicly owned property. In addition to our gratitude for town support, private sector vendors help mow the grass regularly when it's growing. Not right now. Plant trees on occasion and set up benches as necessary. We consult with town staff and these vendors for advice and suggestions regarding lawn care, drainage, and other questions that come up. A board of directors has subcommittees to tackle longer-term projects in areas like maintenance, outreach, finance, bylaw revision, communications, and complaint resolution. Board members are committed to providing a safe, clean, friendly place for dogs to run and play, and where dog owners share the joy and responsibility for their canine companions. Our board is actively engaged in day-to-day operations and future planning. The cooperative has solid financial standing, and on behalf of dog park members and their dogs, the board looks forward to continuing its mutually beneficial interaction with the town, its employees, and your commission. The board acknowledges the longstanding contribution of previous board members such as Bonnie Blake, Carol Abate, Beck Swanson, as well as the efforts of founding board members Dina Myers, Rami Ackley, Bonnie, and Michelle Ditzian. Their successful work to get the dog park planned, approved, funded, built, and operational is a wonderful legacy. This legacy is a clean, well-run, and financially sound community resource. The dog park now begins the third year of operations with a new board of directors, and new officers of that board include newly elected President Mary Beth Womer, Karen King, Vice President, Jessica Hoffman, Secretary, Joe Giletti as Treasurer. New at-large board members include Melissa Federico, Nicole Grass, Lawrence Grothier, Jack Nork, Ben Silvert, and John Womer, and me. Going forward, I'll likely just write up what we're working on and send that to Leslie. So I won't be somebody who's present unless you need me to be. Are there any questions about what we're doing?
No, but we thank you so much for offering all that. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Absolutely. I'm pleased to be here and see what you guys are working on.
And Jeanette, Mary Beth Warmer was a founding member as well. And so
Yep,
was I,
she was on the
actually.
original
And so
board.
was I, yep, so.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
I do want to say, just on another topic that you discussed this month, this meeting, that had last week been in conjunction with a week that's also low, we'd be in yellow right now. So it's a 2-week combined. And so the week before last was high. Last week was really low at 5 cases. This week on Thursday, we'll find out another number. And I'm pretty confident that we'll be getting to 3 weeks of yellow, knocking on wood here, by March 21st. That's the Monday after the report comes out the week before. So just to keep in mind that, yellow is coming, 3 weeks of yellow may come sooner than what we're all thinking. It's right around the bend if we're very lucky, and if taking the masks off the kids at school doesn't affect the whole town. Anyway, thank you. Oh, and
Thank
one
you.
more thing I noticed during the meeting, it might be my fault that your housing survey has so many hits but not completing, because I looked at it to see if it was live to hand it out to our information to our seniors, and then I went back and filled it out. So that's at least 2 hits for one person. So it might be, a lot of people checking it out before they complete it.
Right,
So
right.
you know.
Okay. You did it 1,000 times, Jeanette. We're going to blame
No,
you.
I did it once to make sure it was live before I gave it to the seniors, and then I did it for me. So just twice. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeanette.
you.
I'll see you Sunday.
That's a
Welcome.
deal. See you Sunday morning.
Sunday morning.
I'm gonna skip out. I have
Okay.
a ride
Bye,
coming,
Jeanette.
so I'm
Thank
gonna
you
go.
so much.
Thank
Take
you.
care, everybody.
Thank
Night.
you.
Good night.
Good night. Okay. Laura, on the diversity and inclusion. Laura, you're on mute.
On Wednesday, we had our first Mosaic Town reading, and our presenter was Reverend Antona Smith, and she did a great job on the book 1619, which is a story about how it's a compilation. It has poems, it has different pieces from different people, and it basically, we were taught that in 1492, my battery is low and that's why I'm coming in and out. In 1492, that Columbus discovered America, and according to the book, the first boat landed in Virginia, and it was called the White Lion, I believe, and it landed with a shipload of slaves. So again, we're trying to through readings, we're trying to educate the public. We're trying to build on our diversity. We're trying to enhance and celebrate all the differences that we have in our town, be it religious, be it nationality, be it race, sex, gender, I guess is the correct word nowadays, gender. So it's all of it. And so we're trying to build up a community that is tolerant and that celebrates the diversity. And that's a first step. And we're going to continue to do other things throughout the year. There's also a survey coming up with our group. Now we also changed the name. It's now called Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So it's DEI now. It used to be DI, and now it's DEI. So that's basically it. So it's a great group of people, and very wonderful cultures that everybody brings to the table, and it's a pleasure to be on that committee also.
Great, thank you, Laura.
You're welcome.
Patty, any new news on the Grove?
Yeah, I did what was asked to me. I had done that walkthrough a couple months ago, and I shared with Betsy some visuals, but it's a little early for me to share them and present them because there's a lot of steps that have to happen first. And I know, Sheila, you can speak to there's a subcommittee, there's some funding that has to be put into place, and then all the ideas are going to really come from the public as to, what's viable. So I'm there as a consult, and I did do what was asked to me as a conversation starter, just some visuals and some graphics, but it's not really something that is a solution. So it's a little early for me to present anything like that, but it's going to be identified very soon, the projects that are viable and how the space is going to be used.
Great, Patty, just let me know when you're ready to present it, and we can put it on the agenda.
Well, I think what's going to happen is the public is going to come forth with ideas, and those projects are going to be identified, and then you'll know at the same time as me. And then, if there's any visuals that are going to be presented, then definitely I'll let you know.
Thank you, Patty. Sheila, I had a question for you on this issue. We just were talking about, and you were discussing about trying to minimize subcommittees and committees and try to consolidate. Is there a reason and why there's a subcommittee for the Grove and it's not part of CUPOP?
Yeah, so I think, Patty, are you talking about the 2030 committee that is working with the consultant?
I don't know the name of it, but it was just, let's see, my notes here, a strategic plan subcommittee, basically just to talk about
different.
Yeah.
Okay. So the strategic plan subcommittee is a committee of the Board of Selectmen that Beth just put together. I'm on that. David Vogel is on that. We actually met this afternoon for our second meeting. And that's when I was speaking a little bit more generally about the expansion of government services versus we got to consistently be able to do what we need to do currently and be sustainable, et cetera. So we've recognized that the Board of Selectmen needs a concise document that would be their strategic plan. And within that, we need to get updates from all these various groups. So Patty, I think in fact, there's a 2030 committee that is looking at ways to grow the grand list by 2030. And that group is, I think, the one working with the consultant, unless we're talking about simply funding this with the COVID relief funds, which is going to be done kind of by the Board of Selectmen is going to kind of shepherd that process through. So I'm not entirely sure where the Grove and the enhancements at the Grove actually sit, but it's part of that beautification process. And so, yeah, we have been discussing how to streamline this so that at least the Board of Selectmen knows which committee is doing what. And then the question of whether other committees should be involved or not has to come after that. So I would expect that you can kind of anticipate that as the Board of Selectmen solidifies this strategic plan, we'll have clearer understanding of what committees are working on what and who are they interacting with, and who has to take the next step. So yes, I recognize that we need more clarity, and it is the strategic planning group that's going to try to provide that. But we don't have anything
Okay.
yet.
Okay, now thank you. I just was wondering, it being the Grove and the CUPOP, with being publicly owned property. I think on the agenda, Sheila, I don't know if this answers your question, but it is under American Rescue Plan Act. So I'm wondering if that is the big hint that that is the money that's being utilized for any Grove plan.
Not if it's an expenditure that's already planned, because we can't plan any of those expenditures until we make decisions globally. So I think there is a consultant that's working already. Is that right, Patty?
Yes, it's in the discussion phase right now. That's what I'm being told about that funding. So,
Yeah. So
all that was
if a
shared with me.
consultant's being paid, there has to be a purchase order out for a consultant before they're engaged. So they don't just start working. So I think there is some element that's paying for it already. What that element is, I don't exactly know.
Okay, and one more quick question, sorry, Sheila, while I have you here. The beautification program, or I don't know if that's the proper word that was used, but for the town of Woodbridge, that I'm assuming that's where the benches came from and things of that nature. Is that correct? Is
Yeah,
that
that was
a
an
board-
initiative. Yep.
That's under the initiative. Which initiative was it? I'm sorry.
So that's the first selectman's budget. So
Okay.
beautification of the town center campus, and that includes that garden that was installed on the green. It includes the planning for the sidewalk that's now gotten grant funding from the state to go from Amity High School over. There's there's some lighting projects. There's a bunch of things. A bunch of trees were planted on Center Road on the Fitzgerald track, right on.
Those are from donations too, aren't they?
Some were, but some were also in the Parks Department budget, and they were sort of allocated towards the initiative that's called beautification.
Okay, all right.
Okay. Thank you, Sheila.
Yep.
Okay, are there any, the next meeting is scheduled for Monday, March 28th. So we may have news about whether we're meeting in person or not by then, hopefully. And then are there any new items for the next agenda that anyone would like?
I would just like to mention that yesterday we had a young lady from Amity come to our church, and she promoted the sale of the luminaries. And that money, all those monies will go towards the town, helping the town. And it's part of Woodbridge Together. What they did was they lit up the area by the police station, the area in front of the gazebo. And so what I bought mine yesterday, so I'm going to encourage everybody and to buy theirs. And it's a project for the Amity students. And at the same time, the money goes to the town for either the dog park or whatever other initiative, that may need some monies. And so I'm just and also they need to be lit up on March 12th. Everybody, you can put them in front of your homes, or you can put them in the area by the gazebo.
Great.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
I motion that we adjourn.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second.
Okay, that was Patty, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
everybody.
Doing a good
Okay.
job.